Everywhere you look, there is somebody ready and willing to tell you about how bad escapism is, and that if you spend a lot of time playing video games, watching movies and reading fiction, you are taking a cowardly way and drowning yourself in unspeakable escapism. Instead, you are urged to go out and spend your time meeting real friends, to fall in love with real people and to achieve professional goals, rather than have online peeps read about fictitious relationships or achieve accomplishments in video game worlds. You are told that because you enjoy sitting by yourself, pondering, watching something or gaming, you are escaping the real challenges of life. You are shunning professional failures and apprehending human contact, except that the arguments that legitimize such a judgment to be passed on you are not infallibly sound. On the contrary, there are arguments that suggest something pretty different. The condemnation of the lack of action stems from the consumerist capitalist assessment of success. You are successful if you produce more and spend more. When you devote more time to work, production increases. And when you go out with your friends or romantic partners, you spend more. From a consumerist capitalist point of view, a person who produces a lot and spends a lot is a good person. There is nothing inherently wrong about staying at home and enjoying the things you enjoy. You do not escape from your unsatisfactory job or your suffocating loneliness. You always know that they are there and that you need to do something about them. But it does not behoove you to batter yourself with problems every minute of every hour of every day. If anything, enjoyment recharges your will to get back at those problems and face them more vehemently. Some of the most enlightening ideas and discoveries were made by people while they were enjoying nearly inert activities. Archimedes of Syracuse, who was a mathematician, a physicist and an engineer, made a tremendous discovery in a pure moment of chilling. As Archimedes was taking a bath, he noticed that as he immersed parts of his body into water, some of it was displaced, and that the amount of water that were displaced was proportionate to how much of his body was immersed in water. He noted that there was an upward buoyant force exerted on any object that was dipped into water, and that upward force was equal to the amount of water displaced. The implications behind Archimedes' principle of flotation are humongous. It is that discovery in a moment of relaxation that allows enormous ships and large vessels to float. Any object, regardless of how heavy it is, will float if it displaces equal to or more amounts of water than its own weight. People who brand others timorous escapists often refer to the disconnection from the real world, or what they call the real world. See, our perception of the real world is very far from its reality. When you look at your face in a mirror, or when you look closely at the face of another person, what you see is not what is in reality. No matter how closely and attentively you try to look, you do not see the many Demodex mites, for example, which are little creatures that live on people's faces, especially around the nose, eyelashes and eyebrows. In fact, the human eye cannot see anything smaller than 0.1 millimeters. Everything you see is not what it really is. When you enter a room, for example, your eyes do not translate to you the reality of where you are. A mundane bedroom is full of live action that we do not see. The human eye cannot capture many things, like dust mites or the oxygen and nitrogen molecules in the air. Matter, be it in the form of wooden doors, the floor or anything, is made of molecules that are made of atoms that are surrounded by electrons in constant movement. So when you speak of disconnection from reality, you're not referring to any actual reality. You're referring to a flawed version of reality that is governed by the limitations of our senses, because all our senses are flawed. One could argue that although our perception of reality is not faithful to original reality, human beings have conventionally agreed to label their flawed perception of reality the reality. But we are not even sure that we experience our flawed perception of reality in the same way. People who suffer from daltonism, colorblindness, spend their whole lives seeing things that the rest of people see differently. Even people with seeing eyesight see things differently. The dress was a picture that went viral in the internet because people disagreed on whether the dress was black and blue or yellow and white. The audible range refers to the different pitches and levels of loudness that the human ear is capable of hearing. Pitch-wise, we cannot hear any sounds, below 20 Hz, while pitches ranging beyond 20,000 Hz start to cause us considerable discomfort. We live in a complex world that exerts many pressures on us. As Stoic philosopher Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. There is only one true escapist move. When things look really bleak, and let me quote here the very words of Seneca, you need only turn over your wrists. Between moments of respite and constant self-flagellation, it is quite the latter that resembles suicide.
If you like this video, thumb it up. If you disliked it, thumb it down. What do you think matters? And until we meet again, have a great day.